we're going to have this way. Warm welcome to everyone. Heartbroken, to be honest. And first of all, I would like to thank everyone for the wonderful journey. We've all been together in this for more than 5 years. And I have to say that I'm very proud on the things achieved, on how the team was reorganized, how the team was growing throughout the years with all the problems and difficulties we faced. But suddenly, we couldn't go on. That was a decision made by the responsible people in the AIFF. And I'm really sad to see the project stopping at the moment when it was very visible that the team started functioning properly and that we are at the beginning of new era of Indian football with kind of a different approach, different style of game. But suddenly we were stopped, as you all witnessed a few days back in Qatar, with some funny things which are not welcomed in football world, but they are part of it, and no one can or could influence that to be different suddenly. So I invited you all just to address few things and to make sure that everything stays clear between us. There is no anger in me, you need to understand, because I really feel proud on everything which was achieved through all the difficulties and circumstances which were there. And really proud on the players, especially how they handled all the situation, because national team jersey is something special. I learned that as a young boy, later on as a player, fulfilling my dreams. And one of these dreams, the most important one, was representing my country. In Croatia, we learned that through the war years. And at that time, I learned how much passion means in football and what it can bring to the football pitch. So that was the main point I was trying to implement while working in India, together with working on the mindset change, working on more fearless football, working on more progressive football, attacking football. And it was not easy, it was difficult, but our boys started to change from year to year. And I'm really proud on how they handled the things, because it was not easy neither for them, not having enough time to have the work on individual improvements with their coaches in ISL because of the calendar, but also restricted with the time given to us at the national team for bigger and higher improvements. I will now go to just give one last huge thanks to all the fans in India. They were amazing, and I will never forget how wonderful they were whenever we played and wherever we played, you know. And being united and being supported by so many people, it was a huge help for us. It meant a lot, especially to the players, because I could feel how much they care about what's going to happen in the games when there were so many people supporting us, especially in away games, because it's not easy when you go in Asia to play away games. You know that you will face difficulties with the referees, and that less or more always there is a home team who is supported a little bit or pushed. And we had to be strong to handle all these things. So supporters were wonderful. Biggest thanks from the bottom of my heart to everyone. I will skip now to things which happened suddenly in the last few days, which I was surprised about, to be honest. Not surprised without separating our ways, because that was something which was supposed to happen. And there are witnesses there who know really well what was my decision long ago, not only after the game. You know, even some of my most senior players, they know that I have decided to leave my position, even if we qualify for the third round of the World Cup qualifiers, because it was impossible for me to keep going on in this way without a proper support, just listening lies, promises, and people who were more worried about their own private interests instead of taking a proper care about the football house and its own national team. So I have seen what has been going on in the media in the last 6-7 days. Many questions were raised, but I would say the most important things I will mention now, because when the new people took over the charge in football house, the clear message was sent to me at the very first day. And that message was that the coach will be renewed his contract if he qualifies with the team for the quarterfinal of the Asian Cup. That was a clear message and very significant one to me, that after the Asian Cup, I will not be anymore the coach of India, because to say something like that at that moment was making it clear that these people don't favorize my work, they don't appreciate what has been done there, and that they have their different opinion from what football should be or should look like in India. So I was not angry even at that point. I wanted to do my work on the pitch with as much possible support as I could get, and I was doing everything to do so. So when they decided to have extension on my contract for the first time, just until the end of the Asian Cup, the contract was signed. And you need to know that at that time, there was no changes in that contract apart from one, because there was no mutual trust between the parties there. I insisted only on one thing to be changed, and that one thing was in regards to the clause 9 of the contract. I wanted to make sure that these people will not be foolish enough to sack me in the meantime until the Asian Cup is over. So that clause was changed, and I could focus on my work with whatever I had or whatever were the circumstances at that time. But then some things happened which were not coordinated, which were not appreciated, and the most important one of these things was that new people, and I'm speaking here about President Kalyan Chaubey and his new people in the house, decided to arrange and accept the games for the national team without any meeting or consultation with me whatsoever. Not even one call, not even asking my opinion, not even caring about what I think at that time, which was a clear sign of breach of the contract which was there. I don't want to think now, was that done on purpose with a good faith or not, but it was not in regards to the contract which we had at that time. And I couldn't do nothing about it, because at that time I was focused on the first games which were ahead of us, and these games were coming in March, May, and June, ended beginning of July with our team winning 3 tournaments. And that was the time when I have decided to become that things can be different, that things shouldn't go their way or the way they want to deal with things, and to tell them what I think about what they have done. After the Bangalore final game, SAF Championship in July last year, I immediately asked for the urgent meeting, and the meeting was attended by President Kalyan and Vice President Harris. I was in position then to say to them what I think, because it was clear what our national team can achieve or can do with the proper time given for a preparation. Never mind if there is a lower ranked opponent or higher ranked opponent. The game we played was beautiful, it was exciting, and has brought us lots of happiness to whole country. And at that moment, I explained to them clearly in what position India is at that moment and what will happen if we don't turn things around, if we don't change. They were well aware that there is a huge suffering year ahead of us. I told them clearly that in my position, I cannot keep staying as an Indian head coach at that time if they don't change things radically in the house, if they don't make sure that the longer camps are provided to the national team, if they don't organize meetings with the responsible stakeholders in the house, especially meaning about FSDL here, which is responsible for the calendar of the ISL. And I explained to them how difficult it might become for us because whatever they have done arranging King's Cup, Merdeka Cup, and later on was hurting our team. I told them clearly that I had at that time agreement, which was not in written form because at the time I was having very constructive meetings with the people from FSDL, and I will name them Mr. Martin Bain and Dear Chirac. We agreed that it's possible to arrange mutual calendar to keep both parties satisfied. And I offered to them to give up October and November FIFA windows in replace to have good preparation camp for the Asian Games, bigger and more days camp for before the World Cup qualifiers in September against Kuwait, and 4-week camp prior to the Asian Cup. But as I told you already, once the new people in the football house decided to arrange games without consulting me and talking to me, they accepted King's Cup tournament, they accepted Merdeka Cup tournament, and after that, for FSDL, was not possible to do anything for us or for the team. And we stayed short about the days which were there already agreed for us to prepare well for the Asian Cup. I was very angry at that time, obviously. And I said to them that July and that evening in Bangalore, it's time to make decisions. I said to them, there is only one way how to deal with it. Either we shake our hands, we separate our ways and we stay friends, or they show the trust to the process. If they cannot influence or change the calendar anymore in the favor of the national team, which was obviously impossible with what they have done, I insisted on signing extension of the contract at that point with a time limit until the 1st September. They were obviously at that time very excited about what they have seen in the 3 tournaments we played. I had a huge support amongst you guys, amongst the fans also, and as much as they wanted me out and wanted to see me leave, they couldn't do nothing because the only way they care about running the football house is what social media thinks. They don't care about other things. It's totally wrong approach to how to operate in the football house or any serious institution. So obviously they said, coach, we want you to stay here. You changed this team, you changed our game. We are happy with your work and all that. So we agreed that I will prepare my presentation about the past 4-year work and that I will prepare what's awaiting us in the next phase 2, for the upcoming 2 and 4 years. Everything was clearly said to them. What might happen and how strong we need to be to go through the suffering phase of our work once again. First time when I was going with my Indian team through suffering phase, it was very difficult, but we were compact, we were believing, and we had a faith in what we do. And that's why we ended the qualifiers in Kolkata in a very successful way. But you see the difference. There is a huge difference between the people who were at that time in the Football Federation, and I especially mean here about Kushal Das and Abhishek Yadav, and these new guys who enter the football house looking like they entering on the white horses to liberate some country and bring the freedom and transparency and everything. Once they enter, nothing was there. Absolutely nothing, only empty words. So when I said to them what might happen, I sent my presentation to them as promised on 26 July last year. And they had more than 6 weeks to answer, to fulfill their promises. No response was coming to me. And the FIFA window of September was coming close. Asian Games were coming close. You will all remember what happened and what kind of a circus was going on prior to the Asian Games. And you could clearly see what was leaked already in the media about my letter, which I sent to them a few days back, how they changed the list of the players which I gave to them for the Asian Games, how they behaved with the Thai authorities about giving them reason to bring back senior players to represent the country there. Even I warned them and I explained to them that we've been working very hard for 4 years to give opportunity to our youngsters, to our young guns, to mature quicker, to grow quick, and that we have a great chance taking these youngsters who were once part of the 2017 World Cup, who most of them are at the moment core part of our team. I wanted to show everyone there at the Asian Games that India has enough potential and enough strength without senior players to do well. And obviously, once my list was changed, even at that time, I had most of the agreements with the coaches of ISL class because we had a great relationship about the players I'm putting on the list, and they appreciating me not taking senior players for the Asian Games, but just using young players. Everything was destroyed once again. Only because there was no communication enough amongst parties in our own house to deal with things and to make things brighter and our chances bigger. Anyway, we qualified at the Asian Games from the group, which was nice, but everything what was following us at that time was terrible. You will remember how the trip was organized, how we traveled, at what time we reached there, and how much we were exposed just prior to the game against China, which was later on also repeated when we traveled to Aba City to face Afghanistan, and our travel back. And never mind that we were promised the charter flight to take us there and make our life easier and our chance bigger, but nothing happened. You will remember that. So at that last year, after the answer was not coming to me, I already engaged with my lawyer and told him to prepare the letter for a resignation from my position. And while my lawyer was working on that, I received a call from Football House, and I was told that Mr. Harris was given mandate to negotiate with me the extension of the contract. Next 7 days, I felt like I'm chasing Mr. Harris because he was always on the meeting. He was always entering the plane. He was always at the airport without having time to speak with me. So we had only one chat for about few minutes. And it was clear to me that this is not serious once again, and that no good things I can expect from there. We went to Asian Games. I was trying to explain to everyone that I am about to leave my position. But then I was informed that Shaji will take over the negotiations about contract extension, and that actually happened. I was nicely surprised. We discussed in few days all the terms of the contract, and the only thing I was insisting on was to take good care of my staff who worked so hard, especially about Mahesh Gavli, Velu Dalomiani, and Shamal Valnabi, who were and match analyst Joy Gabriel, because these boys were working mostly without any compensation. Team manager was killing himself without sleep whatsoever and handling not only senior team, but all underage groups also, and the women team, all the camps and everything else. And Shamal, sports psychologist, who did phenomenal job and had a great influence on our team throughout last year tournaments. And we came to agreement about everything for everyone. So that happened on 2nd, 3rd of October last year. And once I got back to Delhi from the, I think, what was it, Asian Games? Yeah. I was invited to Delhi to check the draft of the contracts. And when I saw that everything is okay, Mahesh Gavli joined me at the press conference. You will probably remember that, which AIFF posted, that I appreciated AIFF at that time for finally executing the agreement reached and promises given. But that day, the contracts were signed only by me, Mahesh Gavli, and few days later, contracts were signed also by my Croatian assistant. And I was told that the rest of the staff will sign the contracts in the next few days, that they are in the process. So from October, the only thing what happened was that Shaji was removed from the office. And once he was removed, everything was quiet. No more words about my staff, no more saying anything about their contract renewals, about supporting the national team. At that time, you will remember clearly how much we suffered at the King's Cup, only because of referee decisions, how much we suffered in Merdeka Cup, only because of referee decisions, and how much generally we suffer when we go to play abroad in away games. So obviously things are changing in our process based on what social media says or thinks. And that's a terrible thing for football to happen. That's not how football house should be run. Football house should be stable, should have clear structure and process of work, not depending on what someone writes or says. That's the only way to go forward with the football. But obviously in India, that still is not the case. And knowing that we're not going to get enough time for preparation there, and having been disappointed so much with everything, I said a few things in public which caused me getting show cause letter. You all know about it. That happened in October last year. After that, after I said generally that the World Cup qualifiers should be more important for us than the Asian Cup because we're not going to get enough time to prepare, I received final warning letter from AIFF, but always mentioning that they are providing a support and they will do everything for the team to do well. Of course, always being just words and nothing happening beside that. So when I received that final warning letter, that was December 2nd last year, and no one knows this, I finished in the hospital. I was really disturbed with everything what was going on, stressed and suffering from obvious problems at that time. So I had immediate surgery on my heart, getting 2 stents. And after being released home, I was not ready to speak with anyone or find excuses. I was putting myself on the line and going to the Asian Cup to organize the camp for the team, although I should have been at home resting. But I wanted to give my best shot with my boys. And that's what we did. So in such conditions, I went there to defend the colors of the country, although I'm not Indian. And I'm proud on how we did it. Never mind, there was no points, there was no goals, but we fought. We fought the best way we could. And once that finished, obviously we had to turn and see, it's been already 3 months after the contract extension, but half of my staff still listening promises. It kept going on until few days back. So working without GPS equipment, not getting video cameras, which I requested long time ago, prior to the Asian Cup, which me and my bench analyst, Joy Gabriel, arranged for AIFF for $1,000 to purchase for 1 year, so we can have and obtain a normal work and analyze our training sessions. And even I told them, if you have problem with the budget, I will pay. No, AIFF will do it. That was Satya's answer to me. Of course, it was not done. Once again. So, working without any equipment whatsoever, not even platforms like Viscout and Instats. Throughout the time, we were renting match analysts from Goa, always having problems. Is he going to come or not going to come? Is it possible for him to be with the team? Is Goa going to be in a good position to release him? Using their platforms. I'm sorry, Joy, I need to say this, but we were stealing the platforms from Goa FC, Viscout and Instat. And that's how we operated. And no one knows this. Many of you asked the questions why I invited Trevor Sinclair to help us at that time for the Asian Cup. Now you will probably understand why I needed help from someone who knows how I work and who I can trust, because after having surgery at the beginning of December, I needed to make sure that someone is there with me if anything happens to me, so he can help Mahesh also and organize the work. We couldn't let anything there happen unexpectedly, and for team to be without proper help and enough coaches on the pitch prior to such important competition. So, and now the final thing, and then I will let you ask your questions, whatever you like. Once the game in Qatar finished, and I told you I decided long back that I will leave, qualified or not, that I will not use my option of contract extension there, which was inside the contract or anything like that, that I will leave my position and say goodbye to India. Very first day after that game, which was very suffering day for us, because we were obviously robbed from the victory which could take us to the third round of the qualifiers. I got the call from Satya or message asking me about accepting to have a Hero Intercontinental Cup in July. And once again, I was surprised and amazed how low knowledge these people have about football, about calendar, and about everything. Because they know very well that ISL clubs start their pre-season beginning of July, somewhere between 5th and 10th July. Even to think about organizing Hero Cup in July out of the FIFA window, with so many possible problems, because no ISL coach would let or release the player at the beginning of the pre-season camp to join the national team. To think something about it, it's telling you clearly in what kind of a state mind these people are in the house. They don't have a clue about how to run football cows, and they don't care. The only thing they care about is power, their position, and how to blame others and stay there as long as possible. And I don't mind myself, because finally I can speak. And as I clearly stated in my final letter to them, they did stop me from talking to you guys with a show cause letter and final warning letter. Obviously, I couldn't expose myself anymore publicly or risk or give them reason to sack me, because I was never sacked in my career. Never. This is the first time. But what amazes me, that after explaining to Satya that that's out of mind to think about organizing anything in July, I was also surprised that he is talking with me about that at the moment where I should have a meeting with the technical committee members to give my report and all that, and discuss about which way we go after that to make sure we stay at least somehow in good relationship. Obviously, he received calls from above, from his superiors. And then he asked me, Coach, would it be okay for you to receive 3 months salary and to leave your position? I said to him, dear Satya, no, it wouldn't be okay, but I will give you good reasons. One reason is there is no rush, because there is no game coming soon to Indian football team. The second reason is I am negotiating with 2 parties my job for the future. So most probably until the end of the month, I will finish and conclude and accept one of the offers I have. So you will not need to pay more than one salary. So just be patient and let me agree the terms with my new company, and that will be it. So we're gonna split our ways. On the other hand, I told him, if you want to do it earlier, then I need someone else to take responsibility and accept that there is other party there involved in the huge disappointment which we had, because this team didn't deserve to be abandoned at the crucial moments of its possible success and glory, which was ahead of us at that time, prior to the games against Afghanistan and Kuwait. So suddenly, next day, I received termination letter email, and I couldn't believe it. Only half a day after telling him to be patient and not to get influenced by social media or any kind of pressure he was mentioning at that time, they decided to terminate the contract, which cannot be terminated by their side because they need to pay full amount once the charges are pressed at the FIFA court. And I was hurt once again. That was not something which should happen in a serious organization led by serious people. But anyway, they don't even know that they are not the ones who employed me. They are not the ones who approved my contract extension, but they didn't mind taking decision and sending such a letter, which is against the statute of the AIFF, which is breaking all the rules, normal rules in football. And now they are probably panicking because for them the amount is huge, but probably they are relying on their commercial partner to help them in sorting this out. But that's not something I care anymore, to be honest. So here it is, most of the things which I went through for the last year. And I will repeat once again, it was great honor to represent India. I will always stay a fan of Indian football team. I made great friendships in India. I know who is who. I could see it clearly very first day. And all I can tell you, I wish you all the best in the future to all of you, and God bless you all. So that's from my parts. Now, if you want, you can put your questions forward and I will gladly answer to all of you. Any questions, my dear friends? Okay, I see someone was asking what's next up to me. Okay, I will wait end of the Euro Championship and then I will make my decision. So I have several options and obviously I will see. I will next week go to watch a couple of games there to join my Croatian fellow men which are there to see live few games and then I will decide at the end of the Euro what's my next move. Next question, please. Yes, I see. What was the reaction of the players? I'll tell you what is the reaction. Since this happened, I just asked my dear Velu to organize a WhatsApp group with all the players from my very first day and the staff members. And I think that group consists of nearly 120 people. And I sent one farewell message to them, appreciating their commitment, their hard work, their passion to represent the country. And since then, the messages I received, it's heartbreaking. I would love to read it to you, but I will not because I will start crying again. What went wrong in the match against Afghanistan, you are asking? Yeah. The match against Afghanistan, as I said earlier, was supposed to be a very difficult match, like it was always for us. Even in the prior qualifiers, even in Kolkata when we defeated them 2-1 with a late goal. And I hate one thing, that whenever I speak the facts, then people are saying he's giving excuses. Facts are not excuses, my dear friends. Facts are the truth. And the truth is what is giving us opportunity to be successful or not successful. So if we go back and if we remember, the way we prepared for Afghanistan games was not good enough. It was just not good enough. We had to fly there for a day and a half to Aba City. We went there much earlier to prepare for 2,400 meter altitude. We handled well the pressure. Obviously, it was difficult to breathe for the players because Afghanistan team was preparing much longer there for 3 weeks prior to that game. And the point was at that time good, but then not doing enough to have a proper travel back, to give enough chance to our players for rest. It was obvious that we were not at our best level in the last 30 minutes of that game. And you know what that means. And I will remind you, we traveled so long from Aba City to Guwahati, even without sleeping all night. In Afghanistan players, they slept all night and they reached Guwahati before us. And that's telling you who is in charge of our organization and what kind of a people even new coach will deal with, but nothing will change, believe me. Yes, please.
Coach, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Please.
Yeah, this is Shaji. I'm calling from Extra Time. I have a question that, Coach, if you got chance to back in, would you expect the offer?
What do you mean? If I got chance to?
In later year, if you got, if AIFF would gave a chance to again join an Indian team as a head coach, would you accept the offer?
That's really difficult to say, my dear. I suffered so much there. I came there with open heart, ready to help you, and you know that I was always speaking the truth only. But your football is imprisoned. It's imprisoned, you know. And I accepted the challenge at that time, 5 years ago, because I had a good promise and positive promise about making everything possible for players of Indian origin, law to be changed so they can represent the country. And I could clearly see that what was then looking as a huge challenge might be also a great one in the future if that law is to change, because without accepting that players of Indian origin get involved in the representing India at the football stage, nothing will happen. It's a slow process. It will have to wait for another 2 decades to change with a great developmental program and developing few generations of great players under the great infrastructure, which I don't see happening soon.
Thanks very much.
Someone is asking what is the exact amount of the I'm not sure. I told you clearly that I left everything to my lawyer, but as far as I'm concerned, my contract was running until June 2026. So all the salaries until then, whatever is there, will be requested to be paid. As someone was mentioning astrologer, I will not go back to that. Sorry, my word, bullshit. Okay.
Good
It was
afternoon,
explained
Coach.
a long time ago. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Coach. I am Arunima Sengupta from Sangjo. Sir, you
Yeah.
told that our Indian football is clearly imprisoned. So, what to do to get out of this imprison? Like, what can be done to change this top-down approach? Like, what can be done to start from the grassroots involving the actual stakeholders of the Indian football?
Listen, transparency is what is needed there. You know, we know that the deal between FSDL and AIFF started in a good faith, but it's questionable the contract they signed, and the behavior from FSDL towards AIFF is not something which is telling you that there is a partnership going on. You know, so. To have a such partner, you should have a public tender. That's first and most important thing to do, and to give opportunity to Indian football to do better. The certain rules need to be followed. Rules like why we still don't have relegation in our leagues when even AFC accepted the football map or football road which was presented at that time, but you see it's been prolonged from year to year for that to happen. Without relegation battle, there is no competitive football in the league, and there is no pressure on the players. We cannot expect our players to do better while there is no high tense football or pressured football in the games in the league. That's one of the weakest things in our domestic competition at the moment, you know. So I would say that there is no honest partnership amongst the parties there in this agreement, and that needs to be changed because, first of all, the professional football league and the top tier cannot be run by the corporate business. Cannot be run. It needs to be run by the football federation. So until that doesn't change, it will not get any better.
Hello, coach.
Sir,
Hello, coach.
Hi, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, please. Susmita, tell me, my
Yeah.
dear.
Good afternoon, coach. Coach, my question is that what you said that the differences started after almost after September 2023. So can we say that your contract made by Shaji Prabhakaran that time he was a general secretary general. So do you think that it made that differences? I mean, now the officials of
I cannot
AIFF.
think. Yeah, I cannot think in that way. You know, the first contract extension which I signed in 2022 in October, of course, was also signed by Shaji, and in that contract we just removed the part about termination clause. But about that contract, everybody knew, and executive committee confirmed that contract. You know, so we cannot say that someone individually did this or that with me. Everybody knew, and everyone approval was there. You know, the new contract extension which happened last year, it was all about, and there was only one condition you need to understand: to get my staff under the contracts on improved terms. I was not asking anything for myself. All I was requesting was about supporting the team, providing longer camps for the team, and giving and honoring the work of my staff. So whoever wants to say that I was at any point selfish or thinking about myself, he is on the wrong way. You know, not at all.
Hi, Coach.
Hi, Coach.
Hi.
Hi, I'm
Anubrata.
Swapnil from Ref Sports, Coach.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I have two questions for you. The first question is, you have seen this team for the past 5 years, and right now, if I tell you to suggest one coach for this team, as you told you don't want these boys to get abandoned, like whom the coach will be, and what would be your advice for the new coach who is like going to be the next Indian coach?
Listen, I will not go so far to give advices to new coach, whoever will be there, because we have different thoughts, we have different ideas, and he will obviously, as any other coach, need to follow the form of the players in the club, and then based on the players' experience and the strength, make decision to make the final list. And you will always be there to judge him and say why this player is invited, why this player is not. That's how football works, you know. And I was never angry at anyone for criticizing some players who were there and continuously invited by me, because that's how I see football, you know, simple as that. But I would like to ask all of you one question, one simple question. If we were not robbed in King's Cup, if we were not robbed against Malaysia in Merdeka Cup, and finally, if we were not robbed, obviously, we are not speaking about small referees' mistakes. These are huge mistakes. If we were not robbed against Qatar finally now, our team would still be top 100 in the rankings and qualified for the third round of the World Cup. Just tell me, is that true? I think you all know the answer.
Yes, coach, you're true.
And,
That's true.
and these robberies didn't happen because you have a bad coach or your team didn't perform well. Your team performed beautifully in all three games I mentioned. We played exciting football, we played progressive football, vertical football, and we played as you want your team to see playing. And someone decided different for the end result. And now I will ask you the second question. Who are those who should protect Indian national team in the AFC offices and FIFA offices? Is that the coach and the players? India doesn't have any chairs or any power at these huge institutions. And that needs to be priority for those who are in charge of Indian football. If they are there, then different behavior towards Indian national teams everywhere would be present. I was trying to teach them and to show them with my red cards how someone needs to behave towards its own players to protect them. But they didn't learn the lesson. They sent me a letter which was stating that they were proud of some of my results, but that many times I was a liability to Indian football. That's how they appreciated what I was sacrificing with my acts. They didn't learn how it needs to be done and how someone responsible from its position needs to behave to protect his own team. No, these people were more worried about their private interests, about how they're going to enjoy their positions while they are there, and nothing else. And I'm sorry for that. That's why Indian football suffers still.
Hello, coach.
Yes.
Hello, coach. I hope you're sweetie, buddy. Because I know your condition. My grandfather had this condition, which you talked earlier. I have a question
Yes.
for you. Except the Qatar match, the last final match between Qatar, which we were robbed actually. The playing style of the Indian national team was kind of similar, kind of less fluid in visually. What was the approach of that game? Like, did you got less time in training, or you were favoritizing that type of game for your national team? I'm not going to judge your game, but why was there was less fluidity in those games, but we got some fluidity in the last game?
Yeah. I will explain it in a simple words so you will understand that. Through the last year, the most beautiful games we played were happening in the 4-2-3-1 formation. Yeah, true. So everyone else who we played later on analyzed really well the strength and the weak side and the good side of the national team. But we were not in a position in those games in September, October, November to change things, to turn things around, you see. And I was waiting the proper moment and a good moment to use what India has as a possibility in its best to be. And that's playing with the three center backs and giving opportunity for those boys who we have as a center backs to shine, marking 1v1 and handling everything with a good faith and a good self-confidence, and then having more players up front and kind of surprising the opponents with the new style of play which India will use in the future. And you could see clearly how well it worked. I think that most of you would say that our boys looked totally different, that our boys were very confident. But there was also one psychological thing about our game which was present for most of the time, because we always had our dear captain and our leader there on the pitch. And I mentioned this several times to you when he was on the pitch, our boys were somehow stuck in their minds about what needs to be done and how to deal with the situations. And they were always looking for Sunil, like he was a foreign player in their club. You know how Indian players play in their club. They are looking to pass the ball to the foreign player, but it took time for us to understand that they need to prepare everything for Sunil in the best possible way, not only to look for him in any opportunity to pass the ball to him to kill him. So when at this game when Sunil was not there with us, and that happened earlier also in a couple of games when we were without him, that our boys behaved differently. They were more free to express themselves. They were more involved in decision making. He's not doing a good job. So definitely the ISL, FSDL needs to take responsibility for that.
Coach, good afternoon. Thank you for doing this, Coach. If you could go back, what you know right now, if you could go back and start again, what would you personally do differently? I mean, let's forget the AIFF. Let's forget what maybe outside your control, but within your control, what would you have done differently?
I would leave after that July SAF final. Definitely, I wouldn't stay. I shouldn't have trust these people. It was just empty words, nothing else.
Coach, this is Shaji. I have another question. Can I ask a question from my side?
Yes.
Yeah. Coach, I have a question that you are the Indian team coach for the last 5 years. A lot of uplifting happened during your coaching period. So, in this press conference, you raised a lot of questions about the AIFF, about the management of AIFF, about the unprofessionalism of AIFF people. So, why can you raise this kind of question during your coaching tenure? What is the
How you
what is
can
the
say
reason?
how you can say that, my dear? How many times I raised those questions? Did you even follow what I was saying? I'm surprised that you are
raised. Yeah, you raised. But in this press
But what?
conference, you just
Yes.
you said some word that it's a blistering word. This kind of word, this kind of allegations you didn't say earlier. This is my point.
Which one exactly can you mention? I will remind you that it was said.
No, the reason of the
Whatever, my dear, whatever I'm saying now, it was
Shaji
said
Prabhakaran
also earlier. Whatever I say now, and what is different now? The difference now is that we have confirmation now that I shouldn't trust these people earlier, from July 26th, when they promised to support national teams strongly and make sure that everything is provided. There were only lies and promises, nothing else. My fault was to trust them. And I don't blame anyone else but myself. And I'm telling you now what different I would do if I could go back. I wouldn't stay. I would leave in July and shake hands with them, stay friends. Thank you very much. Goodbye. I wouldn't trust them. I was not supposed to trust these people. They don't have time to run football and they don't know how to run it. I'm sorry to say that. Having a president like that, whose most important thing is how many clicks he's got on his social media and how to get pictures with some famous football people, instead of taking good care about his own institution, it's a ridiculous thing. That's ridiculous. And then it's quite clear now with his public media appearances that he's just trying to please those destructive people on social media, saying coach is giving excuses before and after. No, coach is just saying the truth. Not like you, dear Kalyan. Coach is just saying the truth since the very first day he entered Indian football. You are the one who is lying everyone there. And just thinking about how to be populist, nothing else. And that's sad for Indian football. Sooner he leaves this position and disappears, Indian football stands a chance. It's very simple.
Hello, coach. Hi, Igor. Can I jump in? Siddhant here. Hi.
Hi, Siddhant.
Just connected to what you were just saying, Igor, your opinion on Kalyan as president of AIFF is very clear. In that context, how do you see the position in general? Because he's someone who has come with political backing, and on the other side, you have a corporation in terms of FSDL. So, who do you think is taking the real decisions at Football House? That's the first part from the management side. And the second part is from the player side, coach. They find themselves also, like you have been, kind of lacking a voice. Not having a recognized players union is something that probably you would agree is unheard of in today's day and age, and a very important thing. So, who is actually looking after the interests of players within the federation? Beyond paying them the big paychecks, of course, that we know.
Beyond team manager, no one. Simple as that. Beyond team manager, no one is taking care about the players. There is only few people in the AIFF offices which are there working hard and trying to make sure that things at least work in some decent way. But without having strong leadership, nothing good can happen, my dear. Because in AIFF, for each thing to happen, you need 7 instance approval. You know, that's not how football is run or should be run. And clearly, you said, yes, Kalyan was there, installed politically, but he doesn't have any political power. You all know that in India. You know, no one knows him. If he is not walking around with the armed guards, no one would even see him or recognize him. You know, only when they see him walking with the armed guards around Kolkata or elsewhere, then people start asking, who is that? So Indian football needs someone who is powerful, and who is influential. That's what Indian football needs.
Hello, Igor.
And sorry. Just what was the response when you asked for someone from the AIFF management to share the responsibility for how things have progressed the World Cup qualifier?
It was simple answer. You know that will not happen.
Thanks.
Hello, Igor. Can I come in?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you also tell us, like, what was your working relationship when Kalyan Chaubey took over the presidency in September 2022? What was the conversations like before things started to change? And also, you had a lot to say about the AIFF in the last 1 hour, but there was also criticism over you not attending the ISL matches regularly in India. Even the Northeast United coach had pointed it out. How were you able to assess the players while not being here, you know, and also the players who could possibly play for India as well?
Okay, so 2 questions. First, about Kalyan. We never had a relationship, and we shouldn't have one. I agree. But I should have a daily communication with the general secretary and technical director about the running stuff. How to handle things, how to organize things. President is not there to run the things. He is there to organize the things and make sure the financial situation in the football house is good, to organize the things with his team of people, executive committee and the board, in various aspects, not connected to the football pitch. Technical director is the one I should be speaking, and general secretary on a weekly basis, if not on a daily basis, to do so. So when Kalyan came and was elected president, our first meeting, when he was receiving all these people in Kolkata in the Hyatt Hotel and all that, it took place in that office with a glass window in Kolkata, and our meeting was going on for probably less than 3 minutes, and inside 3 minutes he was looking at his watch at least 5 times. It was clear to me he's very occupied. How to see as many people as possible, but not worried too much about the coach. Okay. No anger. That was what happened. Our next meeting was after the SAF final, which I insisted on, where I explained to him what we can expect, when I told him what is going to happen and what needs to be done, possibly to stop that happening, and how we need to handle things if that happens. And after that, there was one article published about poor relationships between me and the AIFF, which caused Kalyan insisting on attending the Boreas conclave in Kolkata, insisting to show up at the panel where I was invited to, now I see, just to polish his face. Because after that, after that conclave, we had a meeting at the very same hotel where he asked me what he can do for the national team. I said to him, there is nothing new for me to ask you, only old things which are waiting to be done for more than 6 months. At that meeting, where 2 more officials from AIFF were present, he said to me, it will be done immediately. And that was, if I remember well, not long ago when Boria had that conclave, when he said it will be done immediately, and when he immediately publicly stated that the team will get the charter flight to fly to Afghanistan. But nothing happened. Of course, nothing happened. Empty words again. And whatever I was looking was only what we agreed in that beginning of October last year. Nothing more. Just for my staff to be protected, to sign the contracts. And you know where they signed the contracts. We were working without match analysts for most of the time this year, without sport psychologists at all. And finally, match analysts joined us at the half of the camp now prior to the games against Kuwait and Qatar. And the sports psychologist finally came to agreement with them, which was reduced by 70% from what was agreed last year in October, to join us on the 2nd June for the camp for last 7-8 days. So that's the story.
Hi, coach. I want to ask you one more question.
Yes, always there is a home team who is supported a little bit or pushed. And we had to be strong to handle all these things. So supporters were wonderful. Biggest thanks from the bottom of my heart to everyone. I will skip now to things which happened suddenly in the last few days, which I was surprised about, to be honest. Not surprised without separating our ways, because that was something which was supposed to happen. And there are witnesses there who know really well what was my decision long ago, not only after the game. You know, even some of my most senior players, they know that I have decided to leave my position, even if we qualify for the 3rd round of the World Cup qualifiers, because it was impossible for me to keep going on in this way without a proper support, just listening lies, promises, and people who were more worried about their own private interests instead of taking a proper care about the football house and its own national team. So I have seen what has been going on in the media in the last 6-7 days. Many questions were raised. But I would say the most important things I will mention now, because when the new people took over the charge in football house, the clear message was sent to me at the very first day. And that message was that the coach will be renewed his contract if he qualifies with the team for the quarterfinal of the Asian Cup. That was a clear message and very significant one to me, that after the Asian Cup, I will not be anymore the coach of India, because to say something like that at that moment was making it clear that these people don't favorize my work, they don't appreciate what has been done there, and that they have their different opinion from what football should be or should look like in India. So I was not angry even at that point. I wanted to do my work on the pitch with as much possible support as I could get, and I was doing everything to do so. So when they decided to have extension on my contract for the first time, just until the end of the Asian Cup, the contract was signed. And you need to know that at that time, there was no changes in that contract apart from one, because there was no mutual trust between the parties there. I insisted only on one thing to be changed, and that one thing was in regards to the clause 9 of the contract. I wanted to make sure that these people will not be foolish enough to sack me in the meantime until the Asian Cup is over. So that clause was changed, and I could focus on my work with whatever I had or whatever were the circumstances at that time. But then some things happened which were not coordinated, which were not appreciated. And the most important one of these things was that new people, and I'm speaking here about President Kalyan Chaubey and his new people in the house decided to arrange and accept the games for the national team without any meeting or consultation with me whatsoever. Not even one call, not even asking my opinion, not even caring about what I think at that time, which was a clear sign of breach of the contract which was there. I don't want to think now, was that done on purpose with a good faith or not, but it was not in regards to the contract which we had at that time. And I couldn't do nothing about it because at that time I was focused on the first games which were ahead of us. And these games were coming in March, May, and June, ended beginning of July with our team winning 3 tournaments. And that was the time when I have decided to become that things can be different, that things shouldn't go their way or the way they want to deal with things, and to tell them what I think about what they have done. After the Bangalore final game, SAF Championship in July last year, I immediately asked for the urgent meeting, and the meeting was attended by President Kalyan and Vice President Harris. I was in position then to say to them what I think, because it was clear what our national team can achieve or can do with the proper time given for a preparation. Never mind if there is a lower ranked opponent or higher ranked opponent. The game we played was beautiful, it was exciting, and has brought us lots of happiness to whole country. And at that moment, I explained to them clearly in what position India is at that moment and what will happen if we don't turn things around, if we don't change. They were well aware that there is a huge suffering year ahead of us. I told them clearly that in my position, I cannot keep staying as an Indian head coach at that time if they don't change things radically in the house, if they don't make sure that the longer camps are provided to the national team, if they don't organize meetings with the responsible stakeholders in the house, especially meaning about FSDL here, which is responsible for the calendar of the ISL. And I explained to them how difficult it might become for us, because whatever they have done arranging King's Cup, Merdeka Cup, and later on was hurting our team. I told them clearly that I had at that time agreement, which was not in written form, because at the time I was having very constructive meetings with the people from FSDL, and I will name them Mr. Martin Bain and Dear Chirac. We agreed that it's possible to arrange mutual calendar to keep both parties satisfied. And I offered to them to give up October and November FIFA windows in replace to have good preparation camp for the Asian Games, bigger and more days camp for before the World Cup qualifiers in September against Kuwait, and 4-week camp prior to the Asian Cup. But as I told you already, once the new people in the football house decided to arrange games without consulting me and talking to me, they accepted King's Cup tournament, they accepted Merdeka Cup tournament, and after that, for FSDL, was not possible to do anything for us or for the team. And we stayed short about the days which were there already agreed for us to prepare well for the Asian Cup. I was very angry at that time, obviously. And I said to them that July and that evening in Bangalore, it's time to make decisions. I said to them there is only one way how to deal with it. Either we shake our hands, we separate our ways and we stay friends, or they show the trust to the process. If they cannot influence or change the calendar anymore in the favor of the national team, which was obviously impossible with what they have done, I insisted on signing extension of the contract at that point with a time limit until the 1st September. They were obviously at that time very excited about what they have seen in the 3 tournaments we played. I had a huge support amongst you guys, amongst the fans also, and as much as they wanted me out and wanted to see me leave, they couldn't do nothing, because the only way they care about running the football house is what social media thinks. They don't care about other things. It's totally wrong approach to how to operate